early 60s in the studio. We were talking about the Vietnam War. That was the important issue. Assassinations were going on, all sorts of crazy stuff, and all of us had these issues that we couldn't do anything about except sit around and bitch about what was going on. And then Martin Luther King got assassinated, and the folks in the community were burning their buildings down, and everybody was being told stay home from work, don't go downtown, da 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 da. Of course, I worked downtown. I went to work, drove up Charles Street, and saw National Guardsmen with automatic weapons on every corner, protecting businesses to keep from doing it. Being told to turn around, and and there's a fellow named Gil Burrow and Bill Bonneville. Those were two guys that were water cooler buddies. And one of the things we started talking about was forming a group to start helping us. And there was this need to go back and try to fix the neighborhoods. It was something, I could do something about, I could help them. And we called ourselves Design Advisory Group. We weren't going to be NDC. And then the AIA came along. Charlie Lamb had the idea. He saw what we were doing, and he sort of enlisted us to be members of NDC. And we wanted no part of it. I mean, we didn't want we were definitely anti-establishment, definitely anti-AIA, and we were going to do our own thing. And of course, we wanted Charlie's help to let us use his studios and his printing machine and all of that sort of stuff. We actually went to Philadelphia to see what the Philadelphia group was doing. Charlie sponsored a trip and we all went, and Charlie lectured me that if this thing was going to grow and have legs, we needed the AIA to do it, because us three guys would get burnt out in a couple of years and it would die, and it'd be a nice memory for us, but we wouldn't really accomplish. And he was absolutely right. He hit the nail right on the head. There were a lot of good people in the planning department, but it seemed to me they were more concerned with zoning issues and not so much with community-based planning, although Larry Reich certainly championed that and was giving all these district planners room to do it, but it was in its infancy. We would go see these guys and say, who needs some help? And they would tell us what was going on, and we'd go out and introduce ourselves to folks, or they'd have them call us. That's how we got involved. The first project for me was WATCU, Workers Allied Towards Cultural Unity. What a title. I thought I was getting mixed up with a bunch of communists. It was just too much. Got my notebook out, and I'm, okay, we're going to take this old church and turn it into a community center. We're going to take this old elementary school that's got bowling alleys in the bottom of it and turn it into a health center. And we got two houses over here that we want to do halfway houses for, and we got that. She's giving me this whole list of stuff, and I'm writing it down, and here I'm volunteering and taking on this huge project, multi-million-dollar project, and I wanted to help and I wanted to do it, but I realized it was more than I could do on my own. So of course I went back to Gail and Bill and said, this is coming up, and we're going to do it, we're going to do it. We were doing all this kind of legwork so that she could get the funding to do the project, and we finally got the grant written and then gave her the drawings to do the grant, and she got the money. They had to have matching funds, and in those days you could use in-kind contributions as the matching funds. So the work we were doing was the in-kind contribution that gave them enough money in order to get the grants to do the work. And then it got to the point where it was really more than we could do, and went to Charlie and said, Charlie, this is something that's beyond us. The firm's going to have to step in, and RTKL stepped in, and they did the construction documents for it and created the in-kind contribution. And they were the key to making all of that stuff work. It didn't have the staying power in order to sustain those things. Yeah, they got the grant, they got it done, but within a few years it failed because they didn't have the operating money, they didn't have the endowment that it would take to keep the thing going. Then I got the notion we ought to start training some of these people in the neighborhood. They could go out and get jobs and do the same thing that we're doing. So we started a program at the community college, and we taught kids how to draft. It was essentially, this is pre-computer stuff, so it was hand drawing, just introduction to architecture, so they knew. We had maybe 20, 30 kids in the class, and it lasted for a couple of years. Some of those kids are working in the city now. They're still around. They got jobs and they're still working, which I think was probably more beneficial than some of the projects that we did. It's a great opportunity for me to meet district planners, city officials, community folks, and develop my skills as an architect professionally. And nobody else was going to give me that chance. I mean, I was not a silver spoon kind of architect with a family that was going to carry me. So I had to go out and meet people. And I think it's the same true of the people that's working for me now who volunteer for NDC. It's a great place to learn. It's a great place to start to develop yourself in the community, get some staying power, and know people and know how to go. So it's a great training ground for young people to get exposure to the process and the system and understand what's going on. So from a strictly selfish point of view, volunteering is a great thing for folks, I think. And if you can do the noble stuff along the way, improve a neighborhood, improve the people in the neighborhood, do the things that make life in the city better, then you hit a home run.